Hey, it's Dorleen. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm working on a junk journal spread. So this is my little golden book junk journal that I've been playing with for the last couple of months. And this page that I'm going to be doing this 2-page spread on is, or once was, an underpaper, which is basically what I use every time I do any kind of mixed media and even kind of stamping and stuff work, because I like to basically smudge off whatever medium I'm using. So the first thing I usually do is I just kind of grab some papers and random things from my junk journaling supplies and put them on the page. And this is just to add another layer. Sometimes you can't see any of it when I'm all done. Sometimes you can see a little bit peeking through. It just all depends. So I did a swap out of some library cards or library checkout cards. And even though I had said I didn't really need to receive Happy Mail, I did. And I'm going to tell you, I was really happy I did. It really did make me happy. So these are some of the items in that Happy Mail envelopes that I received from plenty of people from all over the United States, part of my junk journaling group. So I have that playing card there. I was kind of picking at it because I wanted to see if I could peel it to make it a little thinner, and I might have been able to, but it was taking too much time and I didn't want to mess around with it. And let me tell you, I don't even know how to describe how much I love those painted book page hearts. They just really make me so happy. So I wanted to make sure I added one in there as well. So the first thing I decided to do is, once all that's glued down, and I just use a glue stick, and now I'm using, you know how you get those fake credit cards in the mail? That's what I'm using to just spread around some white acrylic paint. Sometimes I'll use a white gesso. It just depends on how thick I want it. But right now, I'm really not sure what I'm doing. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not even really sure what image I'm putting on this 2-page spread. I do know that I want to do a butterfly, but what does that mean? I don't know. So I just kind of marked off or wiped off the extra on that under paper that I mentioned. Even though it's white on white, it's fine. It'll either not or it will show up. It doesn't matter. So the next thing I do is I grab some of my re-inkers. There's like a bright blue and this one's like an olive green. And I just put some dots here and there. And then I'm going to use a water spray bottle. I think I smashed it. I smashed it together first. I'm trying to see if it runs a little bit on its own. It kind of doesn't. That's when I grab the water spray and I'm just spraying it because I want this stuff to just spread over. And I close the book a few times. I think I even rest the inside of this book onto the under paper because it's a lot, and I'm trying to get as much of that off as possible for two reasons. One, it was just a lot more than I thought, and two, I need it to dry. So I do have one of their little heat guns, which I'm showing right now. So I do I do dry as much as I can. Obviously, I'm not going to show the whole thing, but in order to go to the next step, I am going to dry it as much as possible. So I'm just grabbing these Tim or Ranger, I don't think they're Tim Holtz, but they're just Ranger crayons, and I'm drawing the butterfly shape. It is not even close to being even, but that's okay too, because again, I'm just playing. I do like to use put my finger in some water to spread that down a little bit. So that's what you saw me do. Up above or in the middle of this, what you don't see, is a shot glass that I have. When I receive them from friends, sometimes they go on trips and they give me shot glass. And I use those for my water, my little water cups, so they just work out fine. And then I have that little canvas that I just use as a paint palette. So I just add more and more and more acrylic paint until, well, I probably will until forever. But I'm just grabbing some green. This is called kiwi. And again, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I'm just really playing. I'm using my favorite tool, which are my fingers, and I'm just spreading some of that green. Now, I do know that I want the top wings a little bit different than the bottom wings. So even though I think I end up using a lot of the same colors, I'm really trying to make them a little bit different because I do want that. So that is what I'm thinking in the back of my head. And you saw me earlier. I have a script stamp that I received from a woman called Rubber Paws, who was my sister's sister-in-law, and when she passed away, we were gifted a lot of her supplies, and that's one of my favorite things to use when I'm doing junk journaling. I usually use black ink. As a matter of fact, I think I do it later black ink, but this time I did it pink because I was kind of thinking I wanted a pink butterfly. Now saying that, you look at my spread and you think, yeah, that is not pink at all. I did have a little pink, but it is hidden by all this blue and green. Now that piece of paper, I cut out some stars with my Cricut for a completely different project. And a lot of these things that look like this, I'll keep them as stencils because they work fine. It's cardstock, so it's pretty thick. But, once I usually wet it with some paint, at that point it's pretty much garbage. Sometimes I put them on cards though, so it's just me being weird, but I'm kind of using everything I got. So here's the pink paint because like I said, I did want it to be pink. Right now I just added some water onto my paintbrush and really made that as liquidy as possible. So even though it is an acrylic paint, I'm just making it really watered down. I'm doing just some random painting, splashing, splattering, whatever you want to call it. Again, I really don't have a set plan. I am trying to put strokes in there so it looks cohesive or it looks like it belongs as far as the wings, not just kind of randomness. And again, I am letting everything dry in between. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, it might not be completely dry because I have no patience, but I do use my heat gun like I mentioned before, or sometimes I just step away for a minute, and of course, I stop the filming at that time. So another thing that I like to do is I take the side of that credit card and I just put it into some black ink, and you see how it's making these really nice black lines here and there. I like that. It kind of looks very scratchy, but I do like that. And I love adding black to mixed media pieces because it stands out, especially when I know it's going to be super colorful like it is here. So I have some paint pens that are white, and I don't know about you, but I have the worst luck with white paint pens. I don't know why. I feel like the black works fine. I have silver, I have gold, I have other colors, yellow, just other colors, and they all seem to work fine. But whenever I work with white, I can never get them to work. So I don't know why. I think I just have bad luck with white. But so here I pulled out my black one, and I'm drawing the body and the antenna of the butterfly. And because it's in the middle of this crease piece, it was kind of hard to just do some solid lines. So I just kind of pounced it. And then I'm going around the butterfly, and you see how I have my fingers at the end of the marker, and I do that because I don't want it to be a controlled edging. I want it to be kind of loose and fun. So that kind of doesn't, it makes it your hand loose on the pen, so it gives you that loose feeling. So I was really happy with that. That container that I pulled out has like random bubble wrap. It has some lace. It has, I don't even know what this is called. I think it used to be called like punchinella. Does that sound familiar? A lot of these things I've had in my junk journaling drawer forever, but I love this because it gives you these little tiny red circles, and red, I don't know if that's a color you wouldn't think would go with all these really brights, but I think that's why I love it. It just really stands out. So I went ahead and kind of, it's basically like a stencil, and did that all over. Now I'm doing some blue, or it's really kind of a teal blue of the bubble wrap. I feel like I'm just throwing everything on this project, like everything but the kitchen sink. And when I first started junk journaling, that's what I was doing. I was using these handmade or home, found tools to make all these marks, and using my fingers, and just kind of just playing, not really having any kind of rhyme or reason. I did use that cardboard tube that was from a tape, the middle of a tape roll. I hate the way those circles look, so I think I try to go back with some white, and I'm trying to like kind of buff it out a little bit, and that does tone it down a little bit. I didn't like the way that looked at all. It was much brighter than I thought. I added some yellow splatter, and I started looking at this thing going, okay, this is kind of a lot. So I sprayed this other kind of limeish, greenish, yellow spray, and that really made everything just really green and totally away from pink that I had originally thought. But after I dry it and I'm looking at it, I'm trying to add some pink. Here's that pink crayon again, and I'm going to use some pink paint to do like I did on the bottom, kind of make some obvious what would you call that, marks, wings, I guess, into the wings. And you can see that pink a lot more, and I do like it because I feel like it toned it down a little bit. Here's what I do: the script stamp in the black ink, and I don't usually fill the entire script stamp. I just kind of put ink here and there, and it just gives like an undertone, another layer, another dimension. It's not the full stamp. And this is a really thick straw that I put with white tape, and then I'm just kind of rolling the straw around because there's white around the edge where I had put the paint from the circle. And then I have this black glitter slate. Like I said, I'm throwing everything at this. And then I see these two big black blobs and I'm like, of course, you think you're done. And then you get this big black blob that doesn't really belong there. And later on, and I don't think I film it, but I do try to whiten that up a little bit. And I just use my black paint pen to put a quote that says, "Without change, there will be no butterflies," which is so true, given the nature of them becoming, from caterpillar to the, basically caterpillar to the butterfly. So here is where I think I'm done. And I'm like, you know what? Remember those stars that I had from the stencil? They are nowhere to be seen. And again, I just felt like, oh my God, this was just way too bright. And the top and bottom wings looked really just like the same. So off screen, I used white over the top two wings, and you could see some of the color of the different layers, but I really wanted it a lot lighter. And then instead of doing the whole pink thing, I just grabbed some blue, and I'm really kind of concentrating on blue, different shades of blue, and even a little bit of green. And I'm using a combination of my fingers and a brush, and I like it. It's definitely a lot more calming because the other one, like I said, it was like, okay, that was just way too much going on. I think I add a little bit more pink here, but you'll see it in a minute. But, I kind of mentioned in my blog and I'll mention it in all of these videos when I do mixed media, I usually don't have a plan. I kind of just start throwing colors on, just using some of these handmade marking tools like I mentioned, or sometimes stamps or whatever it is that I'm using, just adding colors and adding dimensions, adding different layers. And if I don't like it, I'll cover it again with white. Sometimes that's white gesso or sometimes it's white acrylic paint. It just depends on how thick I want it. And if you noticed, most of the papers and even that card that I put on that very first layer, you barely see any of that. You do see some book pages over in that bottom left and a little bit on the upper right. You see some of that pattern. But for the most part, this has gone from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing. I did want to add some white because, again, after I toned it down, I almost toned it down too much. So I'm still looking at this and I'm thinking, yeah, I do like it a lot better. I hope you do too. I do post 2 videos a week. One is always scrapbooking, and then the other is whatever it is I'm creating in the Command Center. The Command Center is the name of my craft room. It's also the name of my blog. I'll have a link down below to my blog, and on my blog I'll have more details as far as products that I use, things like that, and more close-up pictures. Even though you see them at the end of the video, it's not always the same. So here I think I'm done, and I'm thinking, I love it. I hope you do too. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and then look at the final piece, how I decided to put those stars on there, and I love it. So it goes from this kind of crazy, this to a little calm, and then those stars thinking pop. I love the addition of the stars, and I hope you do too. Thanks for watching. Bye.